politics sometimes affects your businesses. Recently, we've seen some coal plant closings, turn down of an XL pipeline, all of which seem to have potential effect on BNSF revenues. Can you talk about how you manage that risk?
BNSF runs their own business very much. I went down to Fort Worth once after we bought it a few years ago, and I haven't been there since. And I probably talked to Matt on the phone, I don't know, once every 3 months or something of the sort. But there's no question that railroads, utilities, insurance companies are all very much affected by the political process. Fortunately, I think, in the railroad industry, we've got economics on our side, and economics usually win out. I mean, we can move a ton of product 500 miles on 1 gallon of diesel, and that may be 3 times or so as efficient as trucking, and that may be why the railroads currently move, say, 42% of all intercity traffic. I don't think our percentage is going to go down, the railroad industry as a whole, no matter what the politics may be. It's just too compelling to move heavy traffic long distances over steel rail. And in terms of congestion, in terms of emissions, all kinds of reasons. So we've got a wonderful product, and there will always be struggles in the political arena between competitors in railroads and customers in railroads. It's the nature of the game, and there'll be some of that in utilities too. But overall, I like our position in that. They do have to be involved in politics. I mean, the railroads, all 4 of the big railroads, are going to be involved in the political process because people who would like to change some of the rules, either as customers or competitors, are going to be in politics too, and things will get decided in state capitals and more important in Washington of importance. So they'll have lobbyists, and they'll play a political game, and their opponents will. I like our position. It would be very dumb for the country to do anything that discouraged the railroad industry from spending the kind of capital that will need to be spent to take care of the transportation needs of this country in the future. If you think about the money that will have to be spent on highways and the costs involved in there, and the congestion problems, the emissions problems, and everything, the country has a strong interest in the railroad industry having every incentive to invest, and the railroad industry pays its own way. We'll spend $3.9 billion this year, and a lot of it will go to improve our present system an awful lot, and some will go toward expansion of a type, and the country will be better off on that, and the federal government will not write a check for it. Charlie?
Well, yeah, it's in the nature of things that there are waves of good breaks and bad breaks. Burlington Northern was enormously helped when you could double the container carriage by making the tunnels a little higher and the bridges a little stronger. And they were enormously helped when they found all this oil in North Dakota and there weren't any pipelines. And they will get some bad breaks too occasionally, where somebody will take away a little freight. But averaged out, it's a terrific business with terrific management. I don't think our main problems are political at all.
No. The railroad industry,
For one thing, we're headed by a prominent Democrat.
the railroad industry was, that may not be a help, Charlie. Right after World War II, now there was a lot of passenger traffic then, but the railroad industry, I think, had as many as 1,700,000 employees in the United States. And here we are today, there's less than 200,000. I mean, railroads have become so much more efficient. It's just by a huge factor. And it's a fundamentally very good way to move heavy stuff a long distance. I mean, it's hard to conceive of anything. It's nice maybe to have barge traffic, but you only got a few rivers that are going to lend themselves to real volume along that line. So you have air, pipeline, vehicles, planes, trains. Trains are pretty darn good.